Now let's talk about payment. Really, let's look at the ad that is being shown on the Wrapify website. It implies that you're gonna be making boatloads of money coming into your app every time you drive or pass by some sort of stop sign or something like that. And that is just not accurate. That's not how it works at all. And it's not because of this thing. I signed up with Wrapify, a service that allows you to earn money while wrapping your car in advertisements. Essentially, you become the moving billboard. And so the big question is this passive income or not? And is it actually worth it? So that is what we're going to be talking about today in my review of Wrapify. Hey friends, welcome back to New On Color. My name is Shanita. If you decide that Wrapify isn't really something that you're interested in, but you still want to know more information about how you can develop a side hustle, you're in luck because I have a free income strategy guide available for you to download, as well as my full written review of Wrapify provided in my blog, and the link will be in the description box as well below. Now for starters, let's talk about the qualifications. To be eligible for a campaign, you need to pass a basic background check, and you need to have at least a 2010 or newer vehicle. And you must be 21 years or older to qualify for Wrapify campaigns. Now, one of the things that I've heard many people be discouraged about is the fact that you need to have a 2010 or better vehicle in order to drive with Wrapify. And so they're gonna fit a certain type of model and vehicle in order to speed up the production time of getting the campaign going and getting cars out on the road. A lot of people did ask the question about whether or not they could still qualify for Wrapify if they lease a vehicle. The answer to that question is yes. If you lease a vehicle, as long as the vehicle is registered in your name and your name is on the lease of the vehicle, then you can qualify for Wrapify. Now, if you are watching this video and you are using an app like Turo and you have like 5 cars that you rent out for other people to drive on that app, and you wanted to try to also do Wrapify, unfortunately they don't do a fleet of cars. It's really 1 car per driver that can qualify for Wrapify. So the question came up a couple times in other reviews that I've seen where people really wanted to know what the significance of the body damage can be for a car to qualify. And essentially it really just can't interfere with the wrap itself. Upon being qualified for Wrapify, they're gonna ask you for a few photos of your vehicle, and then you upload it to the app. And then they tell you whether or not you qualify based on those photos after you've already done a background check and everything else. And then even in that instance, once you scheduled your appointment for the actual wrap, they will also do another inspection as well and mark off any areas on your car where they felt like there were some damages, just so that they are not liable for anything if they do wrap your car. They wanna make sure that before it was wrapped, those were the damages that incurred on your car, and then you would sign off on it, and so would the company who would be wrapping your car. The company that wraps your car isn't Wrapify. They actually partner with Wrapify. They are certified wrapping installers, and they will be the ones that will wrap your car professionally, because many of these companies already have wrapping services and they do wraps for other companies as well. So this is kind of like a side hustle for them as well, where they're kind of getting a partnership deal with Wrapify and Wrapify contracts with them. I signed up on October 6th, 2021 and received an offer by October 15th. The background check and photos were all done the same day and were all approved on the same day. The wrap appointment was scheduled for November 4th, but the campaign actually started November 1st. So the campaign was for 5 months. It ended up being 6 months because I asked them if I can get the wrap taken off now, and they told me no, I still had a whole month left. I think I had done 5 months worth of campaigning, but they told me no. And then finally they opened up dates on when I could get the wrap removed. That's something that you have to keep in mind too, is that you can't control when the wrap gets taken off. They will let you know when you can get the wrap taken off. Even though in their videos, it looks like all you had to do is just peel it off, there's actually a whole process that is involved with removing the wrap. So I wouldn't advise you taking the wrap off yourself the same way it's shown in their advertising videos. The removal process for taking the wrap off is actually done with like a heat gun, and the professionals, they take off the wrap slowly with the heat gun so it doesn't damage your car. There is some residue that's still left on the car, but they have a special process for that. So Wrapify, it seems like they contract with the business itself that is paying for the advertising. Then they contract with the wrapping service that will be wrapping your car. And then they contract with the driver, you, who will be driving around in the campaign that is advertised on the car that you either lease or own. Now, at the time of my service, I did have one dent in my vehicle. And because it didn't cover the wrap, because I was going for I think it's a partial wrap or a semi-full wrap, so to speak. I'll put up on the screen the type of wrap that I had gotten done. There is a full wrap, a partial wrap, and a light wrap coverage that may be offered to you during the time of the campaign. And so sometimes you don't really have an option. That might be the only option that's on there. For me, the partial wrap was the only option that was available at the time for me to choose from, so that is what I got. But that part was not being covered, so therefore I qualified. The area that my car was damaged at was in the front of my car, and the partial wrap only covers the sides and the back of the car. After I started driving, then I ended up with another dent on my car, and that part of the car was impacted with the wrap. And so in that case, what you would do is you just make sure you submit your photos to Wrapify so that they can still approve it or tell you that you might need to have it taken off. But in my situation, they said it was fine. It still didn't interfere with the ad that was on the car. But the good news is that the wrap itself actually protects the integrity of the paint and everything else on your car. That's kind of like one benefit to having a Wrapify ad on your car. So here's the thing, the advertising that they do on their website isn't really consistent with the actual offers that you get. And I'm gonna get to more of that in this review. But essentially, when you see the video campaign that they offer on their website, it kind of gives the impression that you can just kind of like scroll through a series of different offers on your screen through the Wrapify app, and then you get to kind of pick which campaign you want. It doesn't really work like that, at least from my experience. And from the other reviews of other drivers that I've seen, you only seem to be getting one offer. So with that said, you don't get to choose what type of wrap you want in your car. So for example, if you are a Uber driver and you want to see if you can pick like an Uber Eats campaign, it's not like that. Whatever is being offered is what's going to be on the Wrapify app, and you take it or leave it. You also don't get to choose what type of coverage you want. So if it offers a full wrap, partial wrap, or light wrap, and you can't say for a light wrap you don't want the back window covered. A lot of drivers have issues with the back window wrap, and I will say it is a problem, and I'm hoping that Wrapify looks into it because it does limit visibility. So you don't get to say to the wrapping company, wrap everything else but just don't do the back window. It doesn't work. If you want the campaign, which you've already kind of committed to at that point, you can't back out of it. You've already scheduled it, you've made the commitment. If you negate on that commitment, there is a fee for that. So you kind of have to just go with it. You're there, they're there, they've already booked the time for you to get your car wrapped. You kind of got to comply because that's what you signed up for. Now, in terms of how long the installation process of the wrap takes, I got there at 9:30 a.m. and they were pretty much done wrapping by 2:30. So give yourself that amount of time to expect that the car will be wrapped. Now, when you schedule your appointment, it is going to say that you need to make sure the car is going to be left there from 9 to 5. And the reason for that is because there may be other cars ahead of you. This is a third-party business that also has their own business in addition to contracting with Wrapify. So they have their own cars that they're also working on. Just keep that in mind, that you are not the only person there. They are not only working with drivers who contracted with Wrapify, they also have their own business. So they always just flat out don't make any promises and just tell you they'll have it done by the end of business. And so these companies tend to only be open from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. They don't really have anything outside of a Monday through Friday schedule. So that's something to also keep in mind. Now, after the wrap was fully installed, I had gotten a lot of questions from people stopping me. A few other drivers come up to me and ask me questions about the wrap that was on the vehicle. And many of them had said that they signed up for Wrapify but didn't hear back. And they wanted to know what my thoughts were about that. So if you don't see an offer after having driven 50 miles within 24 hours of completing your 50 miles, reach out to Wrapify in the text messaging section. Now, keep in mind, their communication is also based on a 9-to-5 schedule. If you send them a message outside of that time frame, they take the next business day to get back to you. They do respond back. It's not a bot behind all of that. There is an actual person who is responding back to your messages. And so it takes a second, obviously, if you communicate with them outside of the 9-to-5 time frame, Monday through Friday. Another reason for why you may not have heard back from Wrapify after you signed up and have done your 50 miles is because you might be outside of the campaign zone. They really are looking for drivers who are going to be within that red zone that they're looking for. You really wouldn't want to do a campaign anyways if it's outside zone area because you wouldn't make any money. They're only going to pay you if you're within the area that they are campaigning in. If you fall outside of that area at any point in time, the tracker completely stops and therefore it denotes that you will not be paid for that time that you're out of the area. Now, there might be a situation where you did qualify for the campaign and by the time that you wanted to schedule your wrap, there were no more options available. At that point, that must mean that there's enough drivers already on the road for that campaign and you're kind of out of luck. Now, there have been reviews that I have read where it says that there isn't any upfront cost to the driver for participating in a campaign. Well, that's not entirely true. For this, you would have to consider the sunk cost and the opportunity cost with accepting a campaign offer through Wrapify. So some of the costs that I've experienced that were not documented in any reviews that I've read or seen on YouTube were the following. You do have to pay out of pocket for transportation to get to the wrap and bring the car back once the wrap is being taken off. The Wrapify location where I'm based was outside of Houston. Actually, all the wrapping locations that they offered on their app was outside of the Houston area. It's quite a drive, which means that there's mileage and gas expenses to driving out to that location just to get your car wrapped. What happens if you have to leave your car there and you don't want to stay a full 8 hours at this wrapping company? So essentially, you would then have to figure out how you're going to get back. So I did the calculations on this. If I were to leave my car there and take a Lyft, it's more than $25. Now, Wrapify does say that they will reimburse the driver $25, but the cost to get a Lyft or Uber to give you a ride back where you came from is essentially close to that. And then to get a ride back so that you can pick up your car is almost the same cost it cost you earlier in the day. It's way more than $25, which means that you're eating the cost of not only your mileage, your gas, but now the transportation to have this wrap installed. Next is car wash expenses. You have to have your car washed before you get your wrap installed. That is the requirement per the agreement that you signed. Wrapify says that they will not reimburse you for getting your car washed. They suggest that you wash it yourself. You might go to a gas station and get your car washed. Well, that's going to cost you anywhere between $6 to $12 or $15 depending on where you live. You can also go to one of those do-it-yourself car washes where they give you a spray hose to wash your car. Set the selection of what type of wash you want and it only costs you $1. And they really don't want you to get anything too extravagant, just the basic wash, just to get any bird poop off your car or any type of dirt and grime and mud and things like that, or even watermarks from the rain. That kind of stuff, they want you to wash that off so that the wrap can easily adhere to the car. Now, if you do not get your car washed before you get to the wrapping service and they have to end up washing it for you, it will be a $50 fee. The wrapping company will report that back to Wrapify and Wrapify will deduct that from your earnings. If you need to reschedule, you have to make sure that you do it in advance because you will incur a $150 fine. You need to make sure that you do this within 5 business days of your appointment. And it may disqualify you from any future advertising campaign offers with Wrapify. If you get there and you decide that you don't want to do the wrap at all because you don't like the back window covering, that's going to cost you $1,000. You've gotten the wrap installed. Now you're ready to go. You're ready to start getting back to your normal life of just doing your regular gig work as usual. That's great. That's what they encourage you to do. However, you can't double dip on other wrapping campaigns. So if you are doing something like sticker, which I heard is not the greatest, you can't do that. It's against their rules. If you signed up for Wrapify, you can't do other campaign offers. So you can't have something that's on top of your car, or you can't have other advertisements on top of the wrap. You have to make sure that you are very aware of how long the campaign is. The first offer that I received was for 5 months, and by month 4, I was pretty much over it. If you sign up, you have to complete the full campaign duration. I'll put it up on the screen, but there is a clause within the agreement that you signed off on that strictly prohibits you from doing so. Now, there were a lot of drivers who had questions about how you wash the car. One of the conditions of driving with Wrapify is that you do have to maintain the integrity of the ad on your car. If you go with a car wash that is not touchless, you might ruin the wrap. So you just have to be careful about that. The thing that you have to get used to though is the looks and the stares. A lot of people are going to be staring at you. You're not gonna really know why they're staring at you. And they're not really staring at you, they're staring at the car. They're trying to read what's on your car. That's the whole point, and it works. There's certain campaigns that are just going to be more accessible to children. Every time a child passed by this wrap on my vehicle, they pointed and stared at it and yanked on their parents' jacket or shirt to tell their parents about this particular ad because they were now interested in going to see this movie. So these ads actually do really work. It does get people to notice your car. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Like, there'll be places that you might want to go with your car. If that's your primary source of transportation, you're going to the grocery store with this wrap on your car. You're going to church with this wrap on your car. You might be going out to dinner with your friends or something like that with this wrap on your car. And you might be going to your regular 9 to 5 with the wrap on your car. So you are going to get people asking you questions about the wrap. The back window wrap is a problem. When I first got my first campaign offer, the wrap wasn't as terrible as the one that I got recently. The wrap that I initially got, this is the first wrap that I got, I could still see out the back window, but it's kind of dark. I mean, it's blue. So at night, obviously that's not gonna work. If you have a rear view camera, that's the best way to go with this wrap. If you don't have a rear view camera in your car, I would not suggest that you sign up for this campaign because it is going to be a problem for you when you need to back out, when you need to do anything where you really do need access to your back window. You need to have a car with a rear view camera. Now, Wrapify does say that their back window wraps come perforated, meaning they have these little teeny tiny holes where it makes it visible for the driver. That is true, but that doesn't really work very well. It depends on the type of wrap you got. This campaign that was with Zoom, their wrap quality was excellent, which meant that it was a better quality grade of paper that was being used on the wrap, so I could see out the back a little bit better. But then this campaign with Paramount Pictures, the wrapping quality that was offered was not the same as the Zoom campaign that I got. And so that wrap was very, very poorly installed. And I complained about it when I went to the wrapping service. It looks like it's also really wrinkled. And they were explaining to me that due to the infrastructure that's currently going on with our economy, and they're noticing that they're receiving lower grades of wrapping material that they're getting from Wrapify. So they were trying to tell me that it had nothing to do with the person who installed the wrap on my car. It actually had something more to do with the quality of paper that Wrapify was giving them. That's what they told me. So I went with it. But as you can see, it's really bad. And look at what it looks like when I'm in the vehicle. During the day, it is completely blurry. You can't really see anything. Even with those little perforated holes, you can't really see out your back window. So I don't know, Wrapify has said that not too many people complain about this, but every review that I've heard from a driver, they've all complained about the back window. So I'm hoping that Wrapify takes this in consideration and tries to fix this issue. If you are finding value in this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. And if you really enjoy this content and want more of it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also keep in mind that there will be a link to a full written review of my Wrapify experience in the description box below. Now let's talk about payment. Really, let's look at the ad that is being shown on the Wrapify website. It implies that you're going to be making boatloads of money coming into your app every time you drive or pass by some sort of stop sign or something like that. And that is just not accurate. And it's not because of this thing called a beacon. Now, when you get your vehicle fully wrapped, they're going to give you this and they're going to put it in your car. And there is a code on the back of it, as well as a sticky thing where you stick it, where it gets stuck to your car. And it gets synced with your phone so that they can track your mileage. And so essentially, if you aren't driving, you aren't going to get paid. I've heard a lot of this going around where if you have this wrap on your car, essentially it's like passive income.
Drivers like you can expect to see an extra $200, $300, even $400 a month just for the driving you are already doing.
No, it is not. It is not passive income. It would be passive income if they gave you money just for having the wrap on your vehicle, period. Then that would be passive income. But they want you to keep this wrap on your car for 24 hours, 7 days a week. So even when you're sleeping, that company is still being advertised because people are going to be passing by your car when it's parked. And therefore it is still advertising business for someone else. But you're only getting paid if you have it in motion. The issue that I have with this commercial that they're showing on their website is that they make it appear as though the average Jane or Joe that has a long commute to work and is just going to kind of pretty much be sitting in traffic is going to just be making extra income. When the fact is that as long as this beacon is in your car, it is only going to be tracking your compensation based on movement. Sitting in the car in traffic, just sitting there, well, you're not making any money because your car is not in motion. So this is a great way to prevent people from leaving their car off of on the side of the freeway with the advertisement on it and making money that way. That is not what they want you to do with this campaign. They want you to actually be physically in motion. And so to propose that someone could do this and they could kind of get a kickback by sitting in long commutes on their way to work and their way back to work is not really accurate unless you're going and moving and doing 25 miles on your car per day. I wouldn't even consider this semi-passive income, considering all the expenses that you have to pay when you first get the car installed. Wrapify does make it abundantly clear in all of their communication, as well as in the contract, that they will only compensate you for up to 25 to 35 miles for the campaign. That's it. The average gig work driver, if they're doing this full time, they're averaging 80 miles per day on their gig work. I do this part time and I average about 35 to 40 miles a day doing my gig work. So to only be compensated for 25 to 35 of those miles is not even semi-passive income. They're cutting you off at a certain type of mileage, which means you're pretty much giving them free advertising. You're not getting paid for that. And you should be, because if you've contracted to keep the wrap on your car for 24 hours, 7 days a week, you're still working for them. And so you should be getting paid. All right, so let's talk about mileage now. So the standard mileage rate that is currently being offered on the IRS website is about 58 cents. The calculation that I've come up with for Wrapify is giving you is about 20 to 25 cents per mile. Your per mile rate isn't even at the standard mileage rate that the IRS determines that you can deduct from your taxes. To calculate your cost per mile, simply divide your total expenses by the total number of miles you have driven. For example, the total miles I drove for Thursday, June 16th, 34.49 miles driven. Wrapify has decided to pay me $8.16 for driving with this ad campaign. So to find out what they pay me per mile to do this, I divided $8.16 by the 34.49 miles I drove, and I came up with about 23 cents per mile. The current standard mileage rate based on the IRS website is 58.5 miles. So if I were to multiply 58.5 times 34.49, which is the miles driven, I come up with $20.17. If you were to subtract the amount that Wrapify is paying you versus your total expenses for that day, you'd be in the negative of roughly $12, which means you actually didn't make a profit by working for Wrapify. So that's the thing that I am struggling with here. I really am. It's cute to say things like, oh, well, I'm already getting paid to do something that I'm already doing.
Drivers like you can expect to see an extra $200, $300, even $400 a month just for the driving you are already doing.
You would have been making money anyways if you weren't doing this. In their video of advertising this service, it appears as though you're making $1 every single time your car is in motion, when it's actually in the app, it's like pennies. And even if it's 1.5 times that, it's still multiplying it by 2 pennies every time you drive. It's not the same as what's being shown in the video. What really concerns me is the vision that Wrapify gives you when you go on their website. On their website, it really looks like you're gonna get all these amazing offers coming to you once you sign up and you've done your 50 miles. When you look at this video of this guy scrolling through his phone, and he's got this campaign that comes up on his phone and it says, 30 miles for full wrap between $15 to $33 daily. That is not the offer that I received. And it doesn't seem like that's the offer that many other drivers that have reviewed with Wrapify have received either. The total mileage cap for this offer is 30 miles. Total earnings is between $15 and $30 per day. If you were to divide $15 at minimum, $15 for 30 miles, well, that does match the standard mileage rate of 50 cents per mile, or at least it comes very close to. Let's take a look at the max, which is $33 per day. 33 divided by 30 miles for that day averages about $1.10 per mile. That's above the standard mileage rate. That's excellent. At least that's my opinion on this, is that you really have to look at this from a profit margin standpoint. Now, the reason for why calculating your mileage is so important here is because if you happen to make $600 or more with Wrapify, you will need to report this as income on your taxes. So it's important to also calculate the taxable deductions from your earnings so that you're not being taxed on the full amount that they paid out to you. You're able to deduct from that how much you actually spent doing the campaign. So because I noticed that, I made sure from day one that I was tracking all of my mileage, and I tracked it between 2 different mileage trackers. One is my tried and true Stride app, and the other is through the QuickBooks mileage tracker. Now, the reason for why I did 2 different mileage trackers is because I use Stride to track my mileage for only when I do DoorDash. The QuickBooks mileage tracker is what I use to track my mileage for the full day. If I have to keep this wrap on my car for 24 hours, 7 days a week, I'm going to track my mileage for 24 hours, 7 days a week. So 2 different mileage trackers for 2 different gigs. When you file your taxes, you're going to complete a 1099 NEC for both of these types of businesses. So you're going to have reported expenses and earnings for each one of those forms. Another thing for you to really keep in mind with regards to your pay is that if you go outside your campaign area, let's say you get a really good delivery offer and it happens to be outside of the campaign zone, You're not getting paid for that. They're not paying you to go outside of the area. Of course you would take that, but then the contrast to that is that you wouldn't get paid for all the advertisement that you're doing getting to that location as well as getting back. But then they also say, well, you can also make a little bit more money if you're driving in that red zone area, which kind of bumps up the daily rate to about $8. Now, I've seen Wrapify offer a swarm campaign to their drivers as an added bonus for participating in the campaign. So the objective of a swarm event is when a large number of vehicles are sent to the same location at the same time. This gives you, the driver, the opportunity to earn a flat rate on top of the normal driving earnings that you receive daily. The objective of a swarm event is to get photos of your wrapped vehicle in a crowded place that targets the audience the campaign is trying to reach. Drivers can earn anywhere between $45 to $125 per hour during the swarm event. Not all Wrapify campaigns offer a swarm event. I did 2 Wrapify campaigns. The Zoom campaign did not offer a swarm event, but the Paramount Pictures offered 2 days to participate in a swarm event. You have to really act fast. There's only a limited amount of spots that they offer for drivers to participate in swarm events. I tried to do the first day that they offered the swarm event. Within 2 seconds, all the slots were filled. The best way to make the most amount of money and take advantage of this swarm event is to sign up for as many slots as you possibly can. And so this is what the swarm event looks like. It's just a square. And so that's all we did, is just drive around in a square for 2 hours. It is the easiest money that you ever would make. But after like the first 15 minutes, I was over it. I mean, because you're driving at like 10 miles per hour, back to back, bumper to bumper with another advertised car. And there's the photographer. What I also learned was that the photographer was not an employee of Wrapify either. He said that he found this swarm event offered on an app called Snapper, which is apparently a app specifically for people who want gig work in photography. And he said that he was getting paid $100 just to take a few photos for this Wrapify campaign. Check out Snapper. So that's my payout for the swarm event. Now, there are some stipulations to being able to get paid and when you get paid. If you need money right on the spot, this is not the app for you. So it's not like DoorDash can get paid the same day that you have completed a delivery. With this app, they pay you on a bi-weekly basis. When you get paid is based on you complying with the agreement of your Wrapify campaign. Are you taking your POPs, proof of performance photos? If you forget to do that, you don't get paid on time. Now, they will send you a friendly reminder through the app as well as via emails. After they sent that reminder and after they sent that email, they're not going to send another one. So it's up to you to remember to do that. So I'm sure by now you're probably wondering, well, how much did you actually make from these 2 Wrapify ads? The total payout for the Zoom campaign came to $959.51. The total payout for the Paramount campaign came to $413.37. But notice I said total payout. Let's take a look at my total net profit from doing this side hustle with Wrapify. After 6 months of doing the campaign with Zoom and 1 month of doing the campaign with Paramount, it turns out that after factoring in my swarm payouts, my mileage, any car washes that I had to do, and thankfully I didn't have to spend any money on any Ubers or Lyfts to get back and forth from the wrapping location because I pretty much begged them to stay. In the eyes of the IRS, as it turns out, I ended up not making a profit at all. Factoring in all of these things, I actually made negative $101.09 on the Zoom campaign. And with Paramount, I made negative $2,375.04. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, why is your mileage higher for the 1 month campaign? Well, for that, you'll have to factor in the standard mileage rate in 2021. We were still pretty much wrapping up the lockdown situation. And so people were driving less. And the standard mileage rate was set by the IRS at 56 cents. In 2022, when I did the Paramount campaign, everything had reopened, which meant that I was able to drive more. But the downside was gas prices were increasing. So the IRS changed the standard mileage rate from 58 cents to 62 cents per mile. So would I do this ever again? I would not do this again unless it was a full wrap. but unfortunately I don't qualify. Because of the dent that's in my car, the expenses to get that dent repaired exceeds the cost of how much the payout would be for Wrapify. It wouldn't make sense for me to go and get that repaired just so I could do a Wrapify campaign. The numbers just don't make any sense. This isn't a bad company. I actually think this is a really good, reputable company. Apparently it's better than Sticker. There's been some feedback about Sticker, and then I went on their website and it sounds like they pay you in gift cards or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like Wrapify is a lot better. There was some other feedback about someone leaving a comment saying they do Carverse, I think that's the other company, and they only get paid $100 a month to do the advertising. So Wrapify commented in another video saying this is not a service for everybody. So who is it good for then? It's good for a person who drives exactly 25 to 35 miles a day and can maximize this campaign without giving Wrapify free advertising. This is why it's really important to use mileage tracker so that you really understand your driving habits and you know how much on average you rack up in mileage per day. This is also good for the person who actually lives in a city where there is a lot of offers. From my understanding, this business is based in California and maybe they have multitudes of offers like it shows in their marketing video. So if Wrapify were to ask me my opinion or how happy I was with the service and what recommendations I would give to them, here are some of my recommendations. They should also have a phone service. You should be able to at least speak with someone. Shouldn't be everything going through an app. It's helpful for situations where I'm complaining about the back window. Back window, it's completely blurry. I think the application is kind of crappy. And so if I wanted to call and complain about it, I can. I think that they also need to really consider bumping up the offer to at least match the standard mileage rate offer. 20 cents is just not cutting it, or they need to make it a flat rate. So if you are required to keep the wrap on your car 24/7, it should be a flat rate across the board. Here's what you're gonna get paid regardless. Not because you have this beacon on the inside of your car, but because the standard rate is this. This is how much you're gonna get paid, and the driver can choose to take it or leave it. I think that they should provide more wrapping locations. Makes it very difficult for the driver. That's a lot of inconvenience, which means that they should also be covering the full cost of transportation for the driver, not capping it at $25. It costs more than that to drive to and from the wrapping service if you're leaving your car there. There also should be more transparency on this swarm campaign offers. Overall, I don't think that this is a bad company, but I do feel like it is a little half-baked. I think that there's some things that they still can work on, especially by way of doing right by the drivers so that they feel a little bit more included in this. And if you're not familiar with how to understand your profit margins, be sure to click on this video here where I go into full detail on my strategy for how I track my profit margins. And as always, if you like this video, be sure to click the like button below. And if you're interested in seeing more content from me, don't forget to hit the notification bell as well as the subscribe button. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.